Hey guys, welcome back to my channel Revolution XRC, and today we're going to do an unboxing of the HoBao Hyper MT Plus 2 7th scale monster truck. Here in the front we see that it's 4-wheel drive, it's got a 2.4 gigahertz radio, it's got a waterproof receiver, a waterproof servo, and a center diff. Here is the bottom panel. And once again, we see that it has a waterproof receiver and servo, and it's also got a strong aluminum body structure and chassis frame. It is a aluminum chassis here. Now let's go look at the top panel of the box. Here at the top panel, we see some specs of this Hyper MT Plus 2. We see that the length is 700 millimeters long. The width is 510 millimeters. The height of the truck is 280 millimeters. The weight is about 6.5 kilograms or 14.3 pounds. And the wheelbase is 430 millimeters. Now we see that it's got 4-wheel drive, waterproof servo again, it's a monster truck, it's for off-roading, it's electric, and it's got a 2.4 gigahertz radio system. Moving on to the middle of the top panel, we see that the Hyper MT Plus 2 comes with XT90 plugs. It's got all metal drive gears. It's got CNC aluminum center diff mount. It's got CNC aluminum motor mounting plate with supporting bar, and I'll show you that later. And it's got a 150 amp 4S6S ESC and 2000 kV motor. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. CNC aluminum motor mount with a holder. Moving on to the last part of the top panel, we can see that it's got a enhanced one-piece aluminum chassis frame with a roll bar. You can see that up here. It's got a rubber handle as well. It's got a large capacity battery tray, and we'll take a look at that later. You can see that it's a shaft drive system. It's also got a 32 kg high torque waterproof cordless digital servo with a metal servo horn. And here you see that we got aluminum alloy shocks, and here we see that it's got front and rear high torque universal joints with differential outdrive tubs. So we'll take a look at all that when we open the box. Here on the side panel, we see the Hyper MT Plus 2 comes in 3 different body colors. Now the RTR version comes in 2 colors, the blue or the silver. And the almost ready to run version comes with a clear body that you can just paint yourself. And I'll show you the 2 RTR bodies later. Here on the other side panel, we see that the Hyper MT Plus 2 comes with a wheelie bar. And it also comes with gray 7-spoke wheels with 20mm hexes and 7mm nuts. Now we're going to also talk about this a little bit later because there is some updated information coming from HoBao. And let's go ahead and look at what's inside the box. Now just a slight disclaimer here, you can see that on the box it is labeled that this Hyper MT Plus 2 is for people ages 14 plus and older. You definitely don't want to hand this over to a small child and have them cause havoc with this beast of a monster truck. Alright, first up here we can see here is the instruction manual for the Hyper MT Plus 2, and I'll open this up so we can take a look at this later. Alright, here's a look at the transmitter that comes with the Hyper MT Plus 2. You can see it's a 3-channel 2.4 gigahertz radio. You see here the 3rd channel button. It's got a pretty good feel to the wheel. Throttle trim, power button, steering trim, dual rate, and this is the, I think, the throttle reverse and the steering reverse. Here you can adjust the endpoints, so EPA adjustments here, and this 4th channel is an analog 4th channel. Of course, with the Hyper MT Plus 2, you do not have a 4th channel on the receiver, so you will not be using it. Take a look at what kind of batteries this radio uses. flip open. So you see here it's 4 AA batteries. Okay, let's move on to what else is in the box. Here we see the extremely large tires of the Hyper MT Plus 2, 7-spoke design, made for 20mm hexes. And we'll talk about that again in just a moment. Also in the box is some foam padding, and this is for the battery tray. And we'll take a look at that in just a moment too. The Hyper MT Plus 2 also comes with an ESC programming card. Now this ESC is a HoBing ESC, and this is the programming card for it. HoBing is the OEM for the ESC for the Hyper MT Plus 2. So very nice, you can see that it's got a bunch of options. Here we see in this bag the various tools that we'll be needing to maintain this Hyper MT Plus 2. Here we see the wheelie bar. You do have to do some assembly for the Hyper MT Plus 2, and basically that's just putting the wheelie bar on. You can see here's the tools, and the nuts, and the body pins. Take a closer look at this later. Here we see the Hyper MT Plus 2 has a really beautiful body. It's a very high quality body for this kind of monster truck. It's got really nice detail. It's like a mix between a Dodge and a Ford. Take a look at it here. I mean, it's even got side mirrors, and this right here, the roll bar for the bed. So they did a really nice job on the body, and the Lexan that they used for this is pretty solid. It's really thick, so it seems like it would be fairly durable. So it's a really nice body here. Now, as I was saying, the RTR comes in 2 colors, and here is the silver one. So, same thing as the blue, with all the nice details, just a different color. So which one do you like? Do you like the blue? Or do you like the silver? Alright, so let's take a look at what's underneath the body. Here you can just see that it's pretty beastly chassis. Here you can see that the battery trays, they snap on or clip on from the bottom, like so. And basically you Velcro the batteries onto this tray and you snap it right in. Now, there are reports that people who use this battery tray in the stock mounting position where you mount it from underneath do have the battery tray fall out on big jumps. So the other way that people have mounting these battery trays is to mount it from the top. So it's really nice that you're able to mount it both ways, either from the top or the bottom. You're also able to mount it with the opening facing outside or inside. I prefer to have it mounted facing inside so I can protect the battery. You'll just have to find a battery that will fit. And it's a fairly large battery tray, so you won't have too much trouble fitting batteries in here. I have a 3S 8000 milliamp LiPo battery that will be going into this battery tray, and it fits just fine. Here you see I have the Velcro straps mounted correctly, or rather strapped correctly around the battery tray. It's got grooves for you to do that, so these things won't be going anywhere. And I do recommend mounting it from the top. As I was discussing earlier, the Hyper MT Plus 2 comes 20mm hexes and 17mm nuts. Now there has been some feedback given to HoBao that, you know, some people would like to have more options for running different kinds of wheels and tires. And most of the options out there use 17mm hexes. So there will be a running update to change these 20mm hexes to 17mm. So look for that in the near future, and that's a nice running update that they'll be doing soon. One thing that's nice about HoBao is they do take feedback and make running updates to their trucks. Now these shocks here, oh my gosh, they are just silky smooth. I mean, they're just fantastic. And look at the size of these turnbuckles. I mean, these look great. Here's a look at the front bumper, and they've got these nice looking faux fog lights. Gives it a nice bit of detail and a cool looking cool factor. Oh man, I just love these shocks. These should soak up the terrain nicely. Might have to put some heavier oil in there, but I mean, as far as how they are out of the box, they're just silky smooth. I mean, all this plastic is really, really beefy, really strong. Alright, here we take a look at the 150 amp ESC, and this is a hobby wing. And here we've got the 2000 kV motor. It does come with a metal spur and pinion. You hear that right there? And you can see it's got a center diff right there. This truck's a little bit heavy now, so I'm getting a little tired holding it. Here you can see that the ESC's got two XT90 plugs, which is nice. It should allow for enough amps to flow through. This is the rear. I mean, all of this stuff is really, really solid and good material. The plastic for this truck is really solid. Really, really rigid, and you know, it just feels durable. Here you can see the chassis, the aluminum chassis. Yeah, let's take a look at the bottom there. See, you got a nice aluminum chassis there. CNC parts, folks. I've been to their factory, and you know, they've got CNC machines there. It was really cool to see some of the parts that they pump out. Take a look at that. See the center diff and the shaft system. Here you got the 32 kg servo with metal servo arm. One thing you want to do is just kind of take a once over, look at all the screws, give it a once over before you run it. Actually, there is one thing that I will be doing to this before I run it. So I have heard that the front, center, and rear diffs just use basic grease from the factory. So the first thing I'm going to do is to put 500K diff oil in the center diff and 100K diff oil in the front and the rear. So I will make a video on proceeding with that change in the near future. So just stay tuned for that. Keep a lookout for it. But yeah, man, this chassis is just solid. I can't wait to get this out and ripping. And it's nice that they have this roll bar here too. I mean, this will help keep the rigidity of the body on top. It'll keep it from folding in if it lands on the top of its, or if it lands upside down. But, you know, it also makes it easier to carry. And this is not a light chassis by any means. One of the reasons that they moved to a center diff is because the previous Hyper MT Plus had some problems with shaft and cup breakage. So the center diff should alleviate that, and it also helps with the drivability of the Hyper MT Plus 2. Now, once again, the Hyper MT Plus 2 does come with a wheelie bar, but it does not come assembled in the box. It's mainly for packaging reasons because the wheelie bar extends past the body. So for packaging reasons, you will have some minor assembly to put the wheelie bar onto the Hyper MT Plus 2. And this is the package for the wheelie bar and also the hardware. The Hyper MT Plus 2 also includes all the tools that you will need to do all this assembly. So here you've got some Allen wrenches, you've got your hex wrench right here. Here you got the wheel nuts, and these are 17mm wheel nuts, and your body pins. And here is the wrench for the nuts. Another thing to note is the servo that comes with the Hyper MT Plus 2. This one right here. It actually is 25 kg at 6 volts and 32 kg at 7.4 volts. So I recommend bumping up the voltage to this to 7.4 volts just to get that 32 kg. I mean, it is a bigger RC vehicle and it could use that extra torque. Here we see the waterproof receiver box. I mean, it has room for an on-off switch here, but the on-off switch is actually back here with the ESC right there. And you can just see the beautiful mounts of this transmission. Really nice quality material right there. Alright, let's take a look at the instructions here. Here we've got the instructions for the ESC and how to program it. Got an antenna for the receiver. Don't think I'll use it. Here's some more instructions for the radio system. Just some warning. Decal sheets without the decals. I mean, the decals have already been applied to the body. So, empty decal sheets, but they threw in the rest of the decal sheet, empty decal sheet as well. And take a look at the instructions. Oh, nice. Now look at this. This is an RTR vehicle, but it gives you instructions as if you were building a kit. Just take a look at that. So this definitely helps you know the ins and outs of your vehicle, even though it's an RTR. Really nice touch. I'm almost tempted to disassemble the whole truck and just rebuild it from these steps. Yeah, it's just like a kit manual. Very nice. Exploded views. Really cool. Okay. So that just about does it for this unboxing of the Hyper MT Plus 2. I am really excited to get this out and just bashing and jumping. But before I do that, once again, I will be changing out the diff oil in the differentials in the front, center, and the rear. So stay tuned for that video. All I can say is really excited. This will be my first true, large-scale basher. So once again, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to see the next video that I have out for the Hyper MT Plus 2. Thanks for watching.